Welcome to bongosikha. Today I am going to discuss about the Panchayati Raj systems in India. So first you have to know that how the Panchayati Raj came into being. What was the context that Panchayati Raj came into being, how it came into being. The term Panchayati Raj in India refers to or signifies the rural local self-government. That is the meaning of the term Panchayati Raj, the rural local self-government, and it has been established in all states of India through the State Legislatures Act to build or to develop democracy at the grassroots level, and it is entrusted with all rural development works, and it was constitutionalized through the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992. So this is the background that the term Panchayati Raj signifies the system of rural local self-government. So very important to know. And at that time, the Panchayati Raj first was not constitutionalized, means it was not created by the constitution at that time. Next, the evolution of the Panchayati Raj I am going to tell. In January 1957, the government of India appointed a committee to examine the working of the community development program and the national extension service and suggest measures for their better functioning, and the chairman of this committee was Balbant G. Rai Mehta. So this committee submitted its report in November 1957, and its recommendations were the creations for the democratic decentralization. That democratic decentralization came to be known as the Panchayati Raj. So first it was known as the democratic decentralization, then it came to be known as the Panchayati Raj. So what were the specific recommendations made by it, the Balbant Rai Mehta committee? That establishment of a three-tier Panchayati system at the village level, at the intermediate level, that is the block level, and at the district level, and these three tiers would be organically linked through a device, that is indirect election. So that is the first thing, first recommendation. Next recommendation was that village panchayat members should be constituted by the elected members, but the chairpersons of the Jila Parishad and the block intermediate levels will be constituted by the indirect elected members. Then all planning and development programs should be entrusted to these bodies, and there should be a genuine transfer of power and authorities responsibilities to these democratic bodies. Next, the panchayat should be the executive body, and the Jila Parishad should be the supervisory body, coordinating body, and the advisory body. So the Panchayat Samiti should be the executive body, and the district collector should be the chairperson of the Jila Parishad. So these were the recommendations of the first Balbant Rai Mehta committee. Next, that is the Rajiv Gandhi government. The Rajiv Gandhi government tried to pass the constitutional amendment bill, that is in the year 1969, to constitutionalize the Panchayati Raj system, PRIs, Panchayati Raj institutions, to make them more powerful and broad-based. The Lok Sabha passed the bill, but it was opposed by the Rajya Sabha. Why? Because it sought to strengthen, and it was vehemently opposed on the ground that it sought to strengthen the centralization in the federal system. So this was not fulfilled. Again, the Congress government under the Prime Ministership of P.V. Narasimha Rao championed the cause of again constitutionalization of the Panchayati Raj institutions, PRIs, and they passed the constitutional amendment bill. They introduced the constitutional amendment bill in the Lok Sabha. So it was passed by the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha because they deleted all the controversial issues, and finally it came as the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act on 24th April 1993. So this is the background that how Panchayati Raj became constitutionalized. So now I am going to discuss about the 73rd Amendment Act of 1992, significance of the act. So, this act added a new Part 9 to the Constitution of India. This part is entitled as the Panchayats and contains the provisions of the articles from 243 to 243O. In addition, it has also added 11th schedule which entitles 29 functional programs of the Panchayats. It deals with the Article 243G. So, this act basically gives a constitutional status to the Panchayati Raj institutions and brings them in the purview of the judicial part of the constitution. So, now, most interestingly, now the formation of the village panchayat and neither the formation of the village panchayat and nor the holding of the elections at regular intervals will depend on the state government anymore, will depend on the state government anymore. So this is the 73rd amendment, the significance of the 73rd amendment act of 1992. Now this act, some salient features are there in this act. So one by one I'm going to discuss. First, the Gram Sabha. This act provides for the Gram Sabha, that is Gram Sabha, as the foundation of the Panchayati Raj system. Thus, Gram Sabha, it is a village assembly consisting of the registered voters of that particular region or that particular constituency, and it may exercise such powers and it may perform such functions at the village level as the legislature of the state determines. So this is the Gram Sabha. Next, three-tiered system. This act provides for a three-tiered system of the Panchayati Raj in every state, that is Panchayat at the village level, Panchayat at the intermediate level and Panchayat at the district levels. Thus, it brings uniformity in the structure of the Panchayati Raj institutions, PRIs, throughout the whole India, throughout the country. Next, the election of the members and the chairpersons. All the members of the village panchayats will be elected directly by the people, but the chairpersons at the intermediate level and the block level would be members by and from amongst the elected members thereof. So that is the another thing. Next, the reservation of the seats. The act provides for the reservation of the seats for the members as well as the chairpersons for the SC, SD, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes in every panchayat. So that is another. Next, the duration of the panchayats. The duration of the panchayat is for a term of 5 years. However, it may before the completion of its term, there should be a fresh election held for the creating of the new constitution before the expiration of its term, and the panchayat may be dissolved in case of dissolution, that within a maximum period of 6 months a fresh election has to be held to create a new constitution from the date of the dissolution. Next, I am coming to discuss about the State Finance Commission for conducting all the electoral rolls and for giving the functions to delegate the functions. There should be a state election commission, and state election commission will be under the state election commissioner. The state election commissioner will be appointed by the governor. The terms of his office and the conditions of his office will be appointed, will be determined by the governor, and he can be removed only in the manner of a removal of a judge of a state high court, and his conditions of service does not varied shall not be varied to his disadvantage after his appointment. So next, powers and functions. The state legislature may endow the gram panchayats with such powers to make them enabled to act as the self institutions of the self government. That is the one thing that finances. The state government may allot the funds to the panchayats from the consolidated fund of the state government of India. The state legislatures may authorize gram panchayat to levy, collect taxes from the tolls, fees, etc. Then also assign panchayat the taxes collected and levied by the government of the state government. So next, the Finance Commission. The governor of a state may take a call or may take a decision to establish a finance commission after every 5 years to examine the financial position of the commission, and likewise the audit of accounts also. The governor, the state legislature may appoint the audit accounts to review the audit details of the panchayats and the auditing of the such accounts. So this is about the all the state finance commission. Next I am going to discuss about the 11th schedule. As I told that part 9 of the constitution, another addition was that the 11th schedule, which entails the 29 total functional programs of the village panchayat. So what are those 29 functional programs? One by one I am going to discuss. That first is the agriculture, that is the agricultural extension. Then the land reform, soil conservation, land consolidation. So next that husbandry, dairy, poultry. Next farm forestry, social forestry, rural electrification, that is, and the distribution of the electricity, fisheries, then cottage industries, small scale industries through the food processing industries. And the khadi industries, village industries, rural housing, drinking water, that all, and the culvert, bridge, ferries, all the modes of the transport, fuel and fodder. Then the non-controversial energy resources, education, including the primary level and the secondary level, vocational education, technical training, then the adult and the non-formal education, that is also very important. Libraries, cultural activities, market and fairs, these all are coming under 29 functional programs. I am telling it, but these all are one by one, means all are different points. Next, health and sanitation, that is the public health, sanitizer, dispensaries, all this. Women and child development, social family planning, social planning, social welfare, and taking special care of the handicapped and mentally retarded persons. Then public distribution system, maintenance of the community assets. So these are the total 29 programs under the 11th schedule. Now that compulsory and the voluntary provisions, that already I have discussed that the compulsory provisions 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. Now I am going to discuss that organization of the Gram Sabha in a village panchayat or a group of villages. So organization of the Gram Sabha, which is the must compulsory. Next, establishment of the panchayats at the three levels, that is the intermediate level, village level, and the district level. Next, the direct elections to all the seats in the panchayats, but in case of the chairmanship, that there should be the indirect elections at the intermediate level and at the district level. Next, that the minimum 21 years age to contest in the panchayat election, that is the minimum age. Then reservation of seats for both that SC and ST members, and for members and for chairpersons. And there should be reservation of seats for women also in the village panchayat, and fixing of tenure of 5 years. And that is also the before the completion of its term, the it can be a new election can be held on some grounds. The panchayat may dissolve. In that case, a fresh election has to be called for constituting a new panchayat, but minimum tenure is the 5 years. মানে স্থায়িত্বকালটা হচ্ছে 5 বছরের জন্য থাকে। So next, the establishment of the State Election Commission to conduct elections, and State Finance Commission also to examine the financial condition of the Gram Panchayats. So these are all under the compulsory provisions of the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992. Next, I am going to discuss about the voluntary provisions. So, voluntary provisions that empowering the Gram Sabha, Gram Panchayat with such powers so that they may work to enable them to work as the institutions of the self-government. Next, determining the manner in which the members and the chairpersons of the village panchayats will be elected. Next, as I told, that preservation of seats for the members and for the chairpersons, preservation of the seats for the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes, preservation of the seats for the women also. So these are the main things, and authorizing the panchayat to collect and levy taxes. That is also another thing, to grant funds to the panchayat from the consolidated fund of the state government. So these are the voluntary provisions. Means government may do or may not do. That is the voluntary. The government is not compulsory to do so, to help the panchayats in these ways. But these are the provisions in what way the government can help the panchayats. So this is the main thing. Next, the PESA Act of 1996, or PISA Act of 1996, which is an extension act. This act extends the Part 9 of the Constitution with certain modifications, and to provide self rule for the bulk of the tribal population, to have village governance with the population, with the participatory democracy, to make Gram Sabha a nucleus of all activities. So these are the PISA Act. Next, that reasons for the inefficiency of the Gram Panchayat. Why, after constitutionalization, the Gram Panchayat is unable to give the satisfactory result and to reach it to the up to the expected level. Why it fails to reach to the expected level? That is that first point, that lack of adequate devolution. Many states have not taken the proper functions to devolve the three F's. What are the three F's? Funds, functions, and functionaries to the PRIs, to enable them so that they work, so that they can discharge their constitutionally stipulated functions. So most of the states have not taken these steps, three F's, that is funds, functions, and functionaries. Very important at this point. So next, excessive control by the bureaucracy. So the always the village panchayat has been placed as a place of subordination. So the sarpanches spend more of their time to take any technical permission, to take any funds permission from the bureaucrats, which distort the fact that sarpanches are the elected representatives. They are the elected representatives, but still they are at the mercy of the bureaucrats. So this is the excessive control by the bureaucracy. Next, that there is overall or overwhelming dependency of the state funds, because the contingent consolidated fund of the state government of India grants aid to this panchayat. So panchayats is very much dependent on the funds of the state government, and the very few panchayats use their fiscal power to collect and levy taxes. That is why they have become very weak in this section. And status of the Gram Sabha, empowering the Gram Sabha as a nucleus of all powers and organizations. Instead of doing this, the Gram Sabha, there has not been any proper endowment of tasks, any proper devolution of work to the